Hello, it is Saturday, the 19th of August, 2015, and welcome to this episode of Code Evolution, where we're going to do a walkthrough of Angular 2.0's 5-minute quick start for TypeScript. Now, what I've been doing is, before this video, I've been trying out to make sure I can get this working, and today we're actually going to try to get this working using WebStorm. You could probably do all this, via command line and Node and everything, and it'll work just fine. But there are definitely some hiccups that I've run into along the way, and I wanted to make sure that everyone that was interested in doing TypeScript and doing Angular 2 would basically not have to worry as much about some of these little hang-ups that I've run into. I would love to make it that this actual quick start did actually take 5 minutes. So we're going to try and do that now. So what I've got here is I've started from scratch by creating a GitHub project and setting it up within WebStorm. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through the quick start one by one to kind of show how this should be done. Now, I don't necessarily think that the quick start is perfect for what I'm doing, so I'm going to deviate a little bit, but I will explain myself. So the first thing is that we've got this create a project, which I've done. The next thing I'm going to do is, and again, I've already done some of these steps when it comes to like installing things globally, but I will walk through everything. So the first thing being is that, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to type npm, and that's going to make sure that the TSD tool is installed globally. Now it already is, but I'm just walking through it so that you can see these steps. Now at the same time, I also want to not just install it globally, but I want it to be part of my package. Now before I do that, I'm going to need to actually go npm init. So I'm going to create this package. So I'm going to kind of walk through the defaults here. Now with that set up, now I can actually save my settings to the package, right? So we'll go back up here to the npm install, and we're going to do a -- save -dev. Now that's going to add the TSD tool to our package as a development dependency, right? And now you're going to see that inside the package JSON, you're going to get this dev dependency for TSD, which I think is really, really important. Now, we don't have any scripts to run, so I'm going to get rid of that. Yeah, there we go. And we've got all the basic stuff in here. Hooray, awesome. The next thing is we actually need to get all of the TSD dependencies. Now, what are these? These are the typings that TypeScript will need to understand the libraries that you're using. And so in this case, we're going to install Angular 2 ES6 promise, which is something that Angular 2 and other things are using a lot more now as like a standard for essentially tasking and having basically a deferred responses, etc. And so actually what we're going to do in this case is do something a little bit different. And again, we're going to go -- save, which is going to not only install these packages or these typings to our project, as you can see here, but it also includes this TSD configuration file that later on, if people use TSD, it can automatically pick up, and you can say TSD install just like you would npm install, which is really useful. It also installs essentially a global typing file, which is great because if you only want to include one reference to all the types that you're using, this can be very useful. So as you can see here, we have the types. Now with RX, you can see that it comes with its light version and then the RX for the whole thing. And so that's basically our start all the way up into here. Now if we go over here and we have next to, it says create empty files, index, and app, and both at the root of the project. Okay, we're going to follow that, and we're going to create a new HTML file. I'm going to call it index.html. Yes, I want to add it to Git. Okay. We're also going to say new, and we're going to create a TypeScript file called app.ts. Again, just following the instructions here. I think we're going to get past 5 minutes, I'm guessing, but hopefully not too long. And so it wants you to do this whole thing, like the whole touch stuff. We don't need to do that here. So now we're on to the next phase, and that's run the Typescript Compiler. So this is going to get really interesting, especially with WebStorm, because I ran into some hiccups, and hopefully this will help people to get over these problems. The first thing I'm going to do is, just like it says, npm install -g TypeScript and then just to follow it exactly, boom, and it's now installed it. Basically, the version that I know that I have is 1.6.2, which is the latest. So I highly suggest people getting that. And you can do npm update -g Typescript to make sure that you have that. Pretty sure if you type it in, you're going to get that, right? So here we are. We're at TS server 1.6.2. So what they've done is they've got you to install TypeScript globally, and they also, the TSC, which is the Typescript Compiler, has some command line stuff that needed to be added. So we're using WebStorm, so we're not going to have very much trouble getting these to compile on their own. We don't really need to have them watch or have a watcher or something like that. Actually, WebStorm is going to do all that for us. But the first thing I need to bring up is that there is an issue here, and that issue is that 10. What is the version again? I'm running 10.0.4 of WebStorm. There is a pre-release version. It's like a developer preview that is out. That's WebStorm 11, and it does have some better features and doesn't have this issue. But WebStorm 10.0.4 has an issue with the TypeScript compiler setup where it just doesn't work right. It ends up having an error on host.file exists. So all you have to do is, this very nice person, I have to give him a lot of credit. Thank you wherever Tim Tien is. You kind of saved me some grief. Has released a version of the TypeScript compiler host implementation 1.6 fix. And you can download this from his GitHub and replace your existing file inside of plugins. Just follow this here. I'll put links in the description. If it's super helpful, thank you, thank you, thank you. Without it, I wouldn't be able to do this video. And so I've already fixed my WebStorm so that it works, but I want everybody to know that they should probably, if they're using 10.0.4, they should probably go ahead and do that ahead of time. Especially if they go ahead and do this and they run into errors and like, why isn't this working? Obviously, that's what happened to me. So we're going to move on, and I want to show you that if we go to settings inside, you'll need to do this in WebStorm. You just type TypeScript. Oops. In the settings, and then there's a language and frameworks, and you'll see that there's this enable TypeScript compiler. You'll need to do that. You'll also need to actually navigate to the npm folder in your user settings, at least this is on Windows, for you to point to that specific compiler. And then you'll see here that I've copied some of the command line options over. I'm actually going to correct this because they want us to use CommonJS. I was playing around with AMD there for a minute. But you can see here I've added some things like the module type, the target, remove comments, source map, and they need to have emit decorated data. And I've also noticed that they need to have experimental decorations, which may or not be actually shown in this list, which in fact I'm not seeing it in this one, but I've run into that. That's another one to look out for. Experimental decorators needs to be added. So there's something that if you go to the actual step-by-step guide, I think they actually cover that. So moving on, the TypeScript compiler already ready to go. Run TypeScript compiler, yay. Let's cancel out of here. Actually, I'm gonna hit apply to keep the CommonJS setting, and we hit OK. And so you can see I've already have this TypeScript file. It's empty, but let's just kind of test it. We're gonna make a class, as everybody does, called greeter, and then array, and then we're gonna have a foo property string, and right on. That's it. And then you go look at this JavaScript, and yay, there's a class. That's awesome. And it's got source maps, and good to go. Awesome. So we're gonna move on from here, and I'm actually gonna go ahead and clear this file out because we don't need it anymore. That was just to kind of demonstrate. We will want to add the TSD configuration to Git, so now it's added. And now we're going to go down to the rest of the stuff. So we want to import Angular. Well, guess what? We have the types. We can do it. Alright, so we're going to start copying and paste stuff here. So here we go. Boom. Now we've got the typing. Now you'll see that it goes to this typings path. I've actually set WebStorm to exclude this folder. That's why it's red, just because I don't want it like crawling in there and reading it for any reason. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the next block of code, which they want you to import Angular in. Awesome. And what do you know? Now you can see this TypeScript compiler is active here, and you can see that it's good to go, no errors. And we're just kind of, again, walking through. Now that's starting to accelerate a bit because we're just walking through their sample. We actually might be able to pull this off in 5 minutes if we had everything else set up correctly. All right, here we go. There's that. We got their annotation sections. It starts the 5-minute quick start, talks about component and view annotations. You guys can learn that on your own. The template and component controller, right? Okay, so there it is. What do you know? Now we've got the bootstrap. Okay, great. Declare HTML. Okay, well, bootstrap, no, we don't have that. So that's actually a command that's existing, I think, as part of System.js, or maybe even Angular, where it allows you to kind of like kickstart your application. Now we need to copy and paste in their HTML in here. Okay, going fast. Copy, paste. Whoopee. Okay, last part here. They've got me including more code like System.js. So we're going to go ahead and actually replace what they've got in here with this one. Look at that. All right. And then they also want to use the System.js to import after the My App. Okay, awesome. All right, and here we go. Moving on. Scroll down. And then for running a local server, I don't need to because I have WebStorm. So we're actually going to come up in here and let's test it out. Pray it works. And what do you know? It actually worked. That's cool. That's the first time I've actually done that. Just to say that's the case. But there you go. That's pretty much the 5-minute walkthrough. And this is done with WebStorm and all of the tooling like NPM, TSD. I'll be doing another episode that kind of evolves this, hopefully to make it a little bit better. I'm more interested in trying to keep everything, all the resources local, have good NPM packaging, and have it be all nice and self-contained. And then we'll see how it all turns out. So again, that's pretty much episode 1 of this. We did it. We were successful. We're using TypeScript. I mean, we could even just to kind of prove it, it says hello name, and there's name equals Alice. Hello, Alice. It's just to prove it. How are you? And then our, we'll change it to Bob. And then hit shift refresh and then see what happens. Hey, look at that. That's pretty slick. It actually works. And this is Angular 2. We're actually using Alpha 37, I think, is what got imported. Well, no, hold on. In their case, they're referencing directly Alpha 28, which they're up to 37 now. So we'll probably update that, and we'll kind of go from there. All right. You guys have a great day. Enjoy coding.